Heavenly Father, help us to trust in you, even when times look bleak. Even when times are difficult in our personal and our professional lives, help us to trust in your promises and your grace. Use the story of Ruth and Boaz today to encourage us, not only to virtue, not only to honor, not only to respect, but most importantly, Lord, encourage us to trust in you. You always provide for us according to our needs, and you're all we need in good times and in bad. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. If you have a moment, I'd like you to take the image on the front side of your handout and just turn that sideways. This is a picture a gentleman from Mexico drew it in his familial style. And this is actually on display at the Smithsonian Art Museum. And it's the story of Ruth. I really think it's a beautiful story of Ruth. And it also helps just for the briefest recap as we get into the rest of the story. I will admit, this is a story that I have found particularly heartwarming and encouraging these last 2 weeks. And so I brought a picture to help us kind of recap a little bit of the first story. You see in that first image, again, the story of Ruth has Ruth burying her husband and her father-in-law. So she's got no men in her family. She's destitute. And she also decides to go along with her mother-in-law, Naomi. And as we see in the second and third, and if you remember the word Naomi means my pleasant. Well, that's not exactly been how Naomi's been, at least what we've seen so far. She's been quite bitter. She wants to be referred to as Mara, as bitter. And they go back to their homeland. And yet Ruth really shows herself to be a hard worker, a pleasant, a kind woman. And as you kind of see that in the images, in the fifth and sixth image, you see she's out in the fields, she's working, she's preparing, and she's very humble. And so as we just kind of recap the story of Ruth so far, we see her without a male to support her. We see that she is committed to helping her rather unpleasant mother-in-law, and that Ruth is a hard worker. She has this opportunity to go out in the fields in barley harvest time and take care of it. And she initially gets the favor of a man named Boaz, which is our next part of the story. Boaz has some affection for her, some interest, but he's been attracted to her so far, not because she's pretty, not because she seems to be a woman he could marry, but simply because this is a woman who's taking care of her mother-in-law. This is a woman who's a hard worker, and this is a woman who follows the Lord even when she's a childless widow. As we said last week, it's kind of difficult to guess how old Ruth is. A lot of guesses put her at her mid-20s. We don't know exactly, but if that helps you picture this, to be a mid-20-year-old childless widow living with your crabby mother-in-law and picking up the leftovers in the barley fields. It's a pretty depressing life, and yet Ruth has a lot of joy and gladness in her service. And we've been introduced to Boaz, and the story's going to take off here in a little bit. So, for those who were here, or maybe those who weren't as well, any thoughts or comments and a brief review of the story of Ruth? You can see all the beautiful pictures. You're kind of just at the end of the story, but I wanted to review that before we see how the story goes. We'll pick up at chapter 2, verse 14. Ruth has been working in the field. She's been working all day. Boaz is taking notice of her, and he's provided water for her. Now he's going to give her something even more personal and even more caring. It seems to be dinner time. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come over here. Have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar." When she sat down with the harvesters, he offered her some roasted grain. She ate all that she wanted and had some left over. When she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men. "Even if she gathers among the sheaves, don't embarrass her. Rather, pull out some stalks for her from her bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her." So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered, and it amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back to the town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she had gathered. Ruth also brought out and gave her what she had left over, as she had eaten enough. roasted grain. Her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." How has Boaz taken notice of Ruth? What is he providing for this childless alien widow? John?
Well, they were meals to eat and told them, man, just make this nice, right?
Yeah, right. He feeds her roasted grain, not just leftovers, right? Not something over the fire. And then he says, hey guys, be a little less efficient. Don't gather all this stuff for me. Like, throw a couple out for her. You know, he's really looking out for her. Have a meal and make it easier for her to get more food than she normally would. How else is he taking notice of her? And it's not intended to be a difficult question, kind of part of our review. How is he taking notice of her? Yeah, she's a hard-working, unselfish woman. Well, it's interesting what the name Ruth means. Does anyone know what the name Ruth means? Everyone want to take a guess? I know you don't know Hebrew, that's okay. But her name typifies her personality, just like Naomi kind of typifies her personality. She's pleasant, and she's not pleasant, then she'll go back to pleasant. Ruth typifies her personality, but in a different way. This is why some people think this is just a made-up story, because the names are almost too perfect. It's not. It's actually God's word. Ruth means beauty. And what is her beauty? She serves her mother-in-law. She serves her Lord. She works hard. And God is taking care of her. Not a word is spent on how she actually looks. Her beauty is an inward service, pleasantness, kindness, hardworkingness. This is the story you read to little Hebrew girls when they're growing up. What's real beauty, sweetie? Real beauty is not actually putting something on your face. Real beauty is a personality, it is a kindness, it is a joy. And that's what we see in Ruth. Tough spot. All right, let's go to question number 2 here. Ruth worked all day and comes home with roasted grain and barley for 20 loaves of bread. She did rather well today. How has Naomi's mood changed? Remember, she was unpleasant before. How has her mood changed? Yeah, wow, right? She's finally happy for once. We haven't seen any happiness in her the entire book of Ruth. How else has her mood changed when she comes home with grain and also with barley for 20 loaves? It's a lot of food. Surprise. Yeah. Surprised at this. Unpleasant at this. Something else, Kim?
I think you just see evidence that she has hope again, maybe.
Right. Last week we saw how Naomi acted without hope. The Lord's turned against me, nothing's going to happen. And Ruth's holding on. I got hope. Who did this? Blessed be the man who took notice of you. We're starting to see the kernels of hope come again in faith. John?
Well, I was going to bring about that when she said, blessed is, instead of being always being,
Yes.
that blessed, going back to the religious roots of saying, the Lord has blessed this man who worked upon you in favor.
Last week, everything was negative about the Lord. Even when people said, wow, Naomi, great to have you back. No, call me Mara. Like, she's completely negative. God brings home some food. Blessed be the Lord. Right? I'm not picking on Naomi. I'm illustrating humanness, right? Humanness, when I'm not doing well, when I have grief or loss, I feel like God's against me. And then when God blesses me, blessed be the Lord, right? I mean, this is the human of Naomi and the human of us as well. Aaron?
That's what I was actually going to bring up. Her attitude kind of really shows just the human nature of things.
Yeah. It's a weakness that we're happier with God when we have more food, more money, more people, right? We should be blessed all the time, but here's God in grace, right? God in grace not only provides for Ruth, but he also provides for Naomi. And not only gives her a little bit of food, but gives her 20 loaves of bread food. This is a gracious God looking upon his daughters in need and putting them, as it turned out, remember that Hebrew joke last week, putting them in Boaz's field during this harvest for a man who says, make it easy for her to bring a lot of food home. God is taking care of his people. Even when Naomi kind of curses the Lord, God still provides for her the next day. Something else to this. If you remember last time, we talked a little bit about how harvest strategy went. And there was this slight shift, in this. We talked about how there's kind of three groups that would go and harvest. And you had the aliens and the widows at the back end of it. You had the servant girls, and then you had the harvesters, right? So you're working through the field. Harvesters get the first group, then the servant girls, then the aliens and widows. So, after it's gone over twice, you really don't have a lot. And last week in chapter 1, we saw that he had moved her up to the servant girls. He had said, it's okay for you to work with them, I want you to be safe. What did he do for dinner? Do you see where he let her eat? The harvester. In one day, he has bumped her up from the back of the line to the front of the line. She has just transcended all social classes in under 12 hours. Again, not a word is spoken of how she looks. It is her inner beauty. So this speaks a lot to Boaz's kindness and temperament. He's providing for this woman in need. But it also speaks, I think, to just how outstanding and beautiful the woman Ruth is. I'm going to live with my crappy mother-in-law. I'm going to provide for her. I'm going to go out and work. And man, can you imagine going after a barley field a third time over? I mean, you're picking with your hands. They've gotten everything. You got everything. Well, maybe something. No, nothing's in there. Like how disappointing that would be. But when you get moved up to first, oh sweet, they're pulling out stuff for me. This is Naomi. This is Ruth. You really see the grace of Boaz and the grace of God to take care of this alien widow in the harvesting group. A lot of neat little trinkets in this story, truths of God's grace. Something else to this. Let's keep going. Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one at whose place she had been working. The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz, she said. The Lord bless him. We're in a great mood. We got barley. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, he has not stopped showing kindness to the living and the dead. She added, this man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsman redeemers. Setting up chapter 3. Then Ruth the Moabitess said, he even said to me, stay with my workers, again, first group, harvesters, until they finish harvesting all the grain. Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it will be good for you, my daughter, to go with his girls, because in someone else's field you might be harmed. So Ruth stayed with the servant girls of Boaz to glean until the barley and wheat harvests were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. She moves up, she's protected, she's taken care of. I want you to consider, we've talked a lot about Ruth, and I want you to consider the impact of Boaz so far. Consider his impact on the harvesters and sourpuss Naomi. What is Boaz's constant message? Every time we see him speaking, what is he always saying? You see that a little bit in the bottom. You see his word choices, his phraseology. I am the king of this field. I am here to get harvest. It is time to maximize production. What is Boaz's consistent message to harvesters and to Naomi, to Ruth, pardon me? The Lord bless you. We're in the busiest time of year. The Lord bless you. The Lord bless you. The Lord bless you. What does he say to Ruth? The Lord repay you. May you be richly rewarded, under whose wings you come to find refuge. Boaz is always talking of God's blessing. And how do the harvesters, how does Naomi, how do they respond to a man always speaking of God's blessings? The Lord bless you. We could be complaining about how hot it is in the field. We could be complaining about how little money I have. We could be talking about anything else, and yet Boaz's consistent message, the Lord bless you, the Lord be with you, the Lord richly reward you. Here's a man who always has God on his lips. Even to people, many classes under him, he is always speaking of God and his blessings. And look at the effect on Naomi. Crabby Naomi. She hasn't done anything good in the first chapter. Now Naomi, the Lord bless you. The Lord's blessed us, right? You see this indication of how the people respond. And question 3, that final one on question 3, how is Boaz an example of godly male leadership? I don't want to answer that yet. I just want you to start thinking of this. You know, if we wanted to, we could say Ruth is the example of the excellent Christian woman. I hope to the Lord. I care for my family. I'm a hard worker. And then you also see a little bit of Boaz, where you see, I'm going to bless, I'm going to lead, I'm going to care. We're not going to just so much put them into columns, but you're seeing if you're a young Jewish husband and wife, and you're saying, what stories do we want to read from the Old Testament to our children? You can see why this is a familiar bedtime story to families. This is an encouragement. This is a blessing. So you can kind of see some of those differences going. I'm not going to list them so much, but as you're thinking, as you're applying, you might start to lean more towards either. You kind of see these are two wonderful individuals who are really quite blessed by the Lord. Any comments on that so far, on verses 23? She's working, she's staying with her mother-in-law, they're doing barley, then wheat. Barley's first, then wheat, so she's invited to come back for the wheat harvest to go to a different field. They seem to have multiple fields, and the workers kind of work in the various fields. Things are looking pretty good. Questions, comments? Let's keep going. Now we go into chapter 3. One day, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not try to find a home for you, where you will be well provided for? Is not Boaz, with whom servant girls you've been, a kinsman of ours? Today you will be winnowing barley on this threshing floor. Wash and perfume yourself. Put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know where you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." What is Naomi telling Ruth to do? Kim, please.
Well, she wants Ruth to let it be known to Boaz that she's available for marriage.
Okay, this is Old Testament marriage proposal, so to speak. We kind of get an insight into that. Yet we are also 21st century Americans. How do we read a story like this? What does it seem that Ruth is telling, Naomi is telling Ruth to do? This is a story of seduction, right? What else could it seem? I just want to get it out of here so we could crush it just a little bit later. How else might we be tempted to view this story? It's a story of seduction. It's also a story of, we talked about this a little bit. We talked about this a little earlier in some of the other stories. How do some men act around harvest time? How do some people respond around harvest time? When food and drink are plentiful, when it's a long day of work, when you lay down and rest, what have we seen in the Old Testament? Around harvest time, John?
Sex.
We've seen a lot of immorality. And so there's a part of us, the 21st century American, when you read this, you say, wait a second. Like, she's dressing up. He's had a long day of work. He's ate and drank, and now she's like, it must mean something. Like we decided we know Jewish customs from 3,000 years ago. And so let's just put that out there. This is a difficult story to understand. Why would she do something like this? Who would tell your daughter, dress up, smell nice, go to a man who's been drinking at night, lay by his feet and spend the night? See what he tells you to do. Would I ever tell Charlotte to do that when she's of this age? No.
Customs are different.
What's that?
Customs are
There's a huge custom difference, but there's also one distinguishing characteristic about Boaz. identifies. What is that characteristic? We know that, right? We don't even know much about Boaz, but we can see his values, we can see his trust. But what is identified about him so far, John? He's family. He's my kinsman redeemer, right? They're in 21st century Americans don't know what kinsman redeemer are. We'll get to that in the next page. This is a family man. We know that he's going to treat her well. He's treating her very well. He's not taking advantage. He had multiple opportunities to take advantage. He didn't. But as Americans, this is a tough story for us to read because American fathers would never tell daughters to do this, right? So why does Naomi tell Ruth to do this? And this gets to question 5. This is one of the distinguishing factors to us as Christians. How should we understand difficult to understand sections of Scripture? Should we guess? Apply 2019 logic to the people of 1100 BC? Or read more Scripture until you find the answer? Let's go to C. Thank you. Let's turn the page then. Let's go to C. We need to understand a little bit of the kinsman redeemer. We need to understand a little bit of what Ruth is doing and what Naomi is doing for her daughter-in-law. All right. The role of the kinsman redeemer is played out in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. They have these roles: to redeem the property of the poor, or to redeem the enslaved brother. So if a man is poor, he's been given this particular family land, or he's been given his own land. Let's say he's so poor he has to sell his land. Well, he's supposed to get that land back in the year of Jubilee. It doesn't always work that way. But he has his family land, he has to sell it. Or maybe he's so poor he has to go to someone and say, I owe you so much money. I will be your indentured servant. I will work on your fields until my debt is paid. A kinsman redeemer is a man who would come and say with money, I want to pay that man's debt and restore him. I want to redeem the property so it comes back to the family, or I want to redeem him so he's no longer your indentured servant. He can now live with his family again and care for his wife and his children. So this is the man who takes, and this is where we see types of Christ and glimmers of Christ. This is the man who takes people too poor to rescue themselves and rescues them and brings them back. Number 3, he executes judgment on the murderer. And number 4, what we see here, he redeems a relative's widow by marrying her and continuing his family name. We can see the role of the kinsman redeemer, help people who can't help themselves, redeem them to the honor and glory that is theirs. And this is what a kinsman redeemer would do. He would marry his relative's widow and continue his family name. How are kinsman redeemers identified? Like, do you have to be 4th cousin, 5th cousin? Like, again, some of these things are lost to history. We can't identify it, but we do know that Naomi went away. She went to Moab because of the drought. She came back to Bethlehem, and she knew who Boaz was. She knew he was kinsman redeemer. Was this posted at synagogue? I don't know, but somehow they knew who their kinsman redeemers were. And they also knew who Boaz was. He was a man of standing. So while we don't know how they're picked, so to speak, or how they function, we know their rules, and we know that Boaz is one. All right. Questions on kinsman redeemer? John?
Do we ever learn whether Boaz is her cousin, or his husband's cousin, or Ruth's husband's cousin?
We have to say, because he's connected to the clan of Abimelech, he is her dead husband's cousin of some sort, right? So because
they're not related at all, really, by marriage.
And yet they refer to themselves as a familiar relationship. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Just like sometimes you call somebody your cousin who's really not your cousin. You know what I mean? Here is Naomi speaking of a kinsman redeemer for her alien, foreign, widow daughter-in-law. You've been kind of grafted into the family where this rule now applies to you, even though a strict reading of Leviticus might argue she shouldn't be. She's a foreigner, she should live by herself. So there are some people say, and I think the best place to say this is that they're treated like family. She's living in the house, she's acting like family, she's part of the family of the Lord. They're calling each other cousins even though it's not a blood relation, and they're acting like there's blood connection is only with the family of Abimelech, which would be her dead husband, yet they're acting almost like she's Israelite, even though she isn't.
The problem is she had to who she was. They're probably basing that a lot on her marriage.
I think so. I think, do you do this for any Moabitess? Does any Moabitess leave her family in God's way? So I think this is a merit-based, we're going to do this, and Boaz is going to be the guy to not only redeem his family, but to marry a Moabitess, right? To go outside of the gene pool for those people. There is some clansman here. Which, again, you would go to the mayor of Ruth, that he doesn't even know.
Is part of all this because she put her faith in God in this group?
Absolutely. I think her first decision is to say, my people are your people are my people, your God is my God, I want to be buried there. When she swears that oath in chapter 1, the whole thing builds from there. And so Boaz says, I'm going to treat you like family, even if you're technically not. I'm going to give you more promotion than we would for Israelites, even though you're technically a widow, based on her faith in Jesus Christ. We see, and her kindness that she does to her mother, we see a lot of things come together. And just, she's destitute, she's childless, she's husbandless. I got the Lord, let's move. I got the Lord, let me work. And now, she's gone in 60 verses from being childless, destitute, nothing, to she's got the attention of a man of standing, kinsman redeemer. God's really taking care of her. Please, John.
I hate to jump ahead just a little bit too far.
No, you would never do that to me, would you, John?
He is not first in line.
Correct, right, and we'll get to that in just a moment, and that's again where, like,
I mean, you're talking relatively neighbors, so you gotta throw it.
Some of this is a little patchwork. We don't know all of those connections, right? So, but Boaz knew he wasn't first in line, and he knew the other guy, and we know parts of their culture, other parts, the finer details we don't know. Yet Boaz knew. He knew right away. Naomi knew right away. So what is odd to us was normal to them, and it was 3,000 years ago. I'm sure plenty of our culture would be odd to that.
I mean, there is a hierarchy.
Right.
That marquis right there.
Yeah, there is, and here's a man again. Boaz could say, I don't care about the Levitical law, I'm just going to marry her. I don't care about his line, because any children she has by him is not to Boaz's line, it's to his line, right? And so there's an incentive to say, as an alien, I'm just going to take her in, and she can be kind of my wife, and then I'll get the benefits of her and not have to give up the family lineage of Boaz.
Well, technically, it's only the first child, the first son.
I believe it's all of them. I could be wrong. I believe all the children go to that family lineage. And we're gonna get to genealogy in a moment, so we'll be able to answer that. But I believe so. I could be wrong. All right, let's keep reading then. Verse 7. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went down to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Again, here's a man who works with his workers and sleeps outside with his workers. It's not that this man can't control himself, it's that he's a man of the people. I'm not going to my master's house. I'm going to work with my people, I'm going to live with my people, I'm going to celebrate with my people. I think this speaks to his character. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man, and he turned and discovered a woman lying at his feet. The Hebrew really has this idea that he's on his side, and he turns over, and there she is. Who are you? He asked. I am your servant Ruth, she said. Spread your corner of your garment over me, since you are my kinsman redeemer. What is Ruth asking her kinsman redeemer to do? Marry her. Please marry her. A woman is proposing to a man, and spread your corner of your garment. That's a Hebrew idea, that God's corner of his garment covers us, and this idea that if you're in my house I feed you, I clothe you, I protect you, etc. So there wasn't a ring involved. That was their version of a marriage proposal. Unique, but that's what she's asking. And I just want to say, notice what she didn't say. So someone would say, oh, it's a story of seduction. She says, I'm your servant, please marry me. She doesn't sleep with him. She doesn't try to sleep with him. She doesn't do anything. It's really almost a business transaction. I'm your servant, you're my kinsman redeemer, please marry me. So again, we show the honor of her in what could be a very dishonorable situation. Luke, please.
How common is it that the woman proposes? So I thought it was more like a deal between fathers almost.
There's no fathers.
Well, I'm just saying though, I mean, that's what,
I know.
you would think Boaz would go to her mother or something like that.
There's parts of the story that I'm like, these are all interesting, like, sidelines that I don't know if I could ever get back from, but Boaz has done everything right so far. He has honored her very well, and yet he hasn't proposed. Why does she do it with the blessing of her mother-in-law? Does the mother-in-law have to give the blessing before she can do it? What's the cultural thing? When I wanted to marry Dawn, I had to go talk to my in-laws. I had to wait till they were down in the fields, and David and Joanne had to sit in the living room, and I had to say, hi, I'd like to marry your daughter. Right? I mean, I had to wait till farmers were down in the fields before farmers came in. I mean, that is our culture. At least I think it's still our culture. You need to get parents' permission. I mean, you don't have to, but it's a good idea to do that. Does she need to get her mother-in-law's permission? I don't know.
I was just curious.
How many other marriage proposals do we have in the Old Testament? I was looking, I couldn't find many. I found a couple kind of, like David takes Bathsheba to be home with him, but like, I believe, and again, here's where, is there more than one kid to the lineage? I believe it's just all of them. I believe this is the only marriage proposal in the Old Testament.
I was just thinking, I think it was Samson in his story where he told his parents he wanted this woman as a wife.
Right.
That's why I was curious.
Right, and that's a foreigner. That's a good idea. Yeah, he had them arranged. Good point.
That's what I was.
Good. Thank you for that. I wish I could give you some more. Let me do a little research on that. Old Testament marriage proposals. Here we go. But it is an interesting, and the timeline is similar. I mean, they're going to be, stuff that is happening in Judges and stuff that is happening in Ruth is happening concurrently. So, I think we can, why would Samson do that if that's happening in the same century and Ruth do very different? Is there a Moabite that this could be fun? Thank you. Good question. I'll try to find an answer for us in email. Any other comments, questions on verses 7 to 8?
How old do we think Boaz is?
Right. We never really get the idea of a man. He's old enough to have children. He's old enough to be a man of standing. He's old enough, as we're going to see later, he can call the elders together for a meeting.
Could be.
And
Children already. I mean,
there's something that's said a little later where Boaz says, to speaking of her valor or virtue, where he says, you could have run after younger man, but you wait for me. And so there's something we kind of say, well, maybe he's a little bit older. So we know to have respect in society, you have to be at least 30, at least at Jesus' time. So we know he's at least 30. And the guess most people make is this guy might be 40. He can call the town meeting. He can call the elders. He says he wants a town council on marrying kinsmen. 10 elders assemble. The guy shows up. He's a man of standing. So how long does it take to require that? Does he have a wife and other children? Yeah, it would seem that he is childless at this point and wifeless, but again, we don't really learn a lot about him. So, best guess, and again, just a guess, Ruth's 25, Boaz is 35 to 40, in the time when people lived to 60 or 70. But, something more to that question? I wish I could give you a better answer. He does define himself as older and define her as younger, but there's not a lot in those Hebrew words that would give us an age difference, unfortunately. Jim, sir.
They have to marry in Joseph.
There is some of that, right? This younger one, that seems to be a more cultural thing. You marry a younger woman as well, right? Joseph seemed, how old was Joseph when he got married? Well, he seems to kind of die. We don't hear him after Jesus goes to the temple at 12. He dies sometime in there, it seems. Seems to be a cultural thing. Something else? All right, let's keep going. All right, so again, I've had a night of celebration. I've had something to eat. I've had something to drink. I turn over, something startles me. I turn over, and there's a woman lying here who just proposed to me. If you are not a man of virtue, you have opportunities for sexual immorality. Yet, what does the man of virtue do when tempted? The Lord bless you, my daughter. Isn't that exactly what Boaz would say? The Lord bless you. I'm going to speak about God's blessings. The Lord bless you, my daughter. This kindness is greater than which you showed me earlier. Wait, how does an alien widow show a man outstanding kindness? Yeah, he's always about blessings. You have not run after younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am near of kin, there is a kinsman redeemer nearer than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to redeem, good, but redeem. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning. Question 7. Describe Boaz's restraint when a beautifully dressed, perfumed woman lies at his feet in the middle of the night after a night of celebration asking for marriage. This is from the time of the Judges, right? And we've seen in all of these stories, we have seen men of unbridled lust. We have seen men take advantage of women. We have seen men use their power in very sinful and sadistic ways. This is a good story. But God gives us a really awesome one with all those clunkers, right? This is really a story of a man saying, wow, here's an opportunity for me. No, the Lord bless you, my daughter. He keeps calling his future wife my daughter. It's not demeaning, it's that I love you like a father loves a daughter. I never do anything bad to you. Boaz has incredible restraint here because he's focused on the Lord, I think. Yet a lesser man will take advantage of the situation. Something else to question 7. Question 8. List ways Ruth is of noble character. You need the entire book of Ruth, right? Story to read to our daughters. I trust in the Lord. I listen to my mother-in-law. Again, she's a Moabitess. She's referred to as a Moabitess again in this chapter. Wait, so is Israeli custom has me dressing up, lying by his feet, and asking, like, what? Like, that's not how we do it in Moab. All right. You're my God. You're my people. I'll be buried where you bury. I'm going to do this. There's no argument. She trusts her mother-in-law to go into a situation. And she trusts Boaz to really open herself up in many ways. And yet Boaz treats her as a daughter. Boaz treats her with love. And Boaz is concerned. Lie here. Why does he want her to lie with him? I should say, lie next to him, not with him. Why does he want her to lie next to him? Think of the scenario that they're in. Men have been eating and drinking. It is the middle of the night. If she gets up, what might happen?
Well, it's for her protection. She could be molested by one or the other drunken elders.
Well said. I am concerned about you. I want you to lie here. This is for your protection. We don't actually share the garment together. We don't actually sleep together. But I'm concerned that you lie by my great pile and I lie over here. And in the morning, I'll marry you. If the Lord does it good, I will marry you. But I'm concerned that you don't get up and try to go home and something happens to you. He's a man of protection. He's a man of care. This story could have gone very differently with lust and temptation. But because of the qualities of Ruth and Boaz and God's grace, they sleep next to each other for protection until the morning. Just as a slight pastoral aside, I will find people who try to use this story to support living together before marriage, living together before marriage. And they will try to say, well, look, like they spend the night together, therefore I can too. And I say, you know what? I completely agree. If he is your kinsman redeemer, you're allowed to sleep the night with him. And if you're an alien widow at 25 and your mother-in-law orders it, I absolutely, if this scenario applies to you, but since it's 3,000 years later, it doesn't. So
We can twist anything for our benefit.
well, we always do. And here is a pure, virtuous story. Here is a pure, virtuous woman. Here is a pure, virtuous man. There is no deceit in this story, and yet it is so difficult to read a modern writer on this story, because every modern writer wants to corrupt it. And that's why I have to read Professor Ewald from the 18th century, right? I have to read commentators from the 18th and 17th and 16th centuries, because those guys actually see the virtue in it. The modern writer says, oh, this can't be true. She's seducing him. He's controlling her. No, this is actually a story of virtue in a difficult situation. This is a great story. Yeah. Let's keep going. Verse 14. So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. See, she doesn't want any scandal. I know it'll be a scandal if I sleep with him overnight and if people know that we did. So, to that argument, it's okay. No, she knows it's not. He said, don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor. He also said, bring me the shawl you're wearing and hold it up. When she did, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and put it on her. He went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, how did it go, my daughter? He told her everything Boaz had done for her and added, he gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then Naomi said, wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today. Verse 9 again, question 9, why did Boaz keep her at her feet and give her a gift to send back home? Consider context, not 21st century presuppositions. Why did he protect her and send her home with a gift? This is the easiest question of the sheet.
Well, he protected her reputation.
Yes.
And he sent the gift, not so much for her, but for Naomi.
I'm thinking about your unpleasant mother-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking it was like a significance of the promise he made to her. Like, okay, again, not going back empty-handed, but this is just foreshadowing that I will take care of you.
I will take care of you. And that's where, again, some people guess that the mother-in-law's blessing is needed for this. And so that's why they say, why did he send so much barley home with the mother-in-law? Thanks for allowing me to marry her if it's okay. It's a guess. But the simpler common answer is, I'm protecting you, and I'm thinking about your mother-in-law, and I'm sending home a gift with you, even though you've got plenty so far. And it's foreshadowing further gifts, further stuff. The other thought is this is kind of like an dowry in a sense. It's a much smaller one, but again, just kind of guesses. What a nice thing that we're trying to guess just how nice Boaz is, because he keeps being nice and generous over and over. Like, why are you doing this time? Maybe it's just Boaz. Maybe he's just a great guy. Okay.
To just kind of this idea of why they would need Naomi's approval or whatnot, but I wonder if it has to do with that, Ruth was a widow, so there is that time of grieving that you don't, it would be wrong for Boaz to step in if she was still grieving a husband. So I think it is up to Naomi to say, okay, grieving time's over, and so if she is that first person to put it out there and say, okay, she's available now, in a sense. So I think that had to be communicated to Boaz, because I don't think he would have done this on his own based on who he is.
Yeah, it seems to be a man that is so respectful of her. I'm going to wait until I get the signal to pursue.
Yeah.
And the mother says, how should I provide for now is very pleasant all of a sudden. Now she's thinking about her daughter-in-law and taking care of her. So yeah, that's where it leans more into she's got to give the blessing to proceed. And I do. You can tell I kind of lean that way. That makes the most sense to me. I can't say it's true, but it just seems right. It seems to fit with the virtues of all the characters. Let's go to question number 10. This is the 22nd lesson in the series on the Old Testament. We've looked at many men, Lot, Jephthah, Samson, Judah, Ehud, Eli, Jerubbaal. How many of them were Christ-like, humble servants who valued women and the poor? My point is that I've given you a lot of depressing stories over these weeks. Try to make a positive one. Yes, there is a cynicism in our culture and a sarcasm that says it just can't be this way. No, this is the jewel in Ruth in the Old Testament. This is the jewel of what godly fidelity, male and female. One's an alien, one's a widow, and one's just a man of standing. This is a really, really good story. In spite of all the difficult and sad stories, this is an encouraging one. There are godly men, there are godly women. Even during the time of the judges, there are people that hold to the law and love women and value the poor. And Boaz is not only just that man, but I think an example of the other Israelite men who are like this. And there are foreigners who say, I am going to come to the Lord, I'm going to follow his word, this is going to be my people. You know, well, so many of these lessons, right? Moab is the enemy. Edom is the enemy. They're always coming in on horses, and they're always coming in. And so Ruth in this story is to remind us these are actually human people, and they're actually coming into the flock of Christ followers. And this is a good story. They are people that come in, and as we're going to see in the genealogy later, it becomes part of Jesus' lineage. So Jesus wants us, of all the stories, he wants us to see this positive one. Heather.
I was going to say this is why he's Jesus.
That's right, yes. Right, and God's choosing Rahab, he's chosen a prostitute, he's chosen people of different financial backgrounds, and yeah, you can understand, yeah, Boaz is a man, a positive man in the lineage, when not everyone is so positive. Well, next side, page 4, time for 3100 BC Levitical law at the town gates. Different the way we do it, but I think there's some truth here to this. So not truth, there's a lot of truth. Some application for us. Meanwhile, Boaz went to the town gate and sat there. When the kinsman redeemer he had mentioned came along, Boaz said, "Come over here, my friend, and sit down." They went over and sat down. Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, "Sit here," and they did so. He's enough standing to force a calling of the court. Then he said to the kinsman redeemer, "Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling a piece of land that belonged to her brother Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here, and the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not tell me, so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line. I will redeem it," he said. Boaz said, "On the day you buy the land from Naomi and from Ruth the Moabitess, you acquire the dead man's widow in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property." At this, the kinsman redeemer said, "Then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it." Now, in the earlier days in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off the sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the kinsman redeemer said to Boaz, "Buy it yourself," and he removed the sandal. Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilian, and Mela. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabitess, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from the town records. Today you are witnesses." Then the elders and all those at the gate said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Oh, Jesus is going to be famous in Bethlehem. You see that? See these little Hebrew jokes they have to learn from? Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Not a good story. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. He went to her, and the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The woman said to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a kinsman redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth." Then Naomi took the child, laid him in her lap, and cared for him. The woman living there said, "Naomi has a son." And they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Abinadab, Abinadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon. I know it's not that, but I'm hungry for salmon. Salmon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David. Their baby is David's grandpa. Man, huh? What a memorable story. I wish we had time for question 11 for everyone to share an insight from this story. Because I believe I've really enjoyed these last 2 weeks. Does anyone want to? I know we can't have everybody share an insight or a thought so far. Would anyone like to share something? Maybe you shared last week, maybe you shared today. Just as the story ends and the story arc continues in who would come from Bethlehem, Jesus Christ, the descendant of David. Any insights or appreciations you'd like to share from the story? Please.
I missed some couple Bible studies and I just came back to the thing, but earlier you said that all you know is from the class are depressing. I don't look at any of them as depressing. I look at them as, wow, okay, I've experienced that. Right now, every time I come to a Bible study, my week is like, okay, how was Naomi this week? So crabby, this is that. I learn from it.
Yeah.
And I learned that I'm not the only one, and that there is a way out through the Lord. So I don't look at him as depressed, I look at him as learning tools. It helps me. And thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. Excellent. Well said.
Does it also show up the idea that when Mary married Joseph, and he was the line back to David?
Yeah, right. You see the genealogy. We're going to see that in Ruth and Matthew. We've got the exact same genealogy. God is really concerned in reminding us who these people are that lead to Jesus. And a lot of these are names, but hopefully through these stories, like, oh, Boaz and Ruth, that's a story I can connect with. Some of these names are a little more applicable for us. Something more certain.
But it also ties Mary back to David, right? So that Jesus, if there ever comes up a question, and Joseph had nothing to do with it, but it's still the line of David.
It's still, God made a promise and he kept it. And he took great detail to tell us just how this did it. A lot of funny names. How he kept it. Well said, sir. Something else? Luke, please.
Well, just going back to last week where Naomi, I am empty, I am bitter, I have nothing. This is a whole story of Christ coming into this world. It's how God uses people and we just can't see the whole story.
This is the standard blessing. May you be famous, right?
Yeah.
We're reading the story 3,100 years later and arguing about, what is appropriate, prenuptial, all these things. You're famous because of who your great-grandson was. Because of that child, Moabites and Israelites and Smyrnites, we are all welcomed into God's family. Yeah.
Even when we struggle in our own lives, we get bitter.
Right.
We just can't see what God's got in store for us.
We feel like Naomi. God, give us a Ruth to keep us going. One more thought. I think the final thought is, beautiful one, and yet, Boaz is pointing ahead to Jesus. The name Boaz is mentioned almost twice often as Ruth is in the story. I thought that was interesting reading it. I felt like Ruth is mentioned more. And yet Boaz is the kinsman redeemer to buy people back. Jesus. Jesus bought a lot of us back when we lost everything by birth, by nature. He's brought us back and made us part of his heavenly family. Ruth, Boaz, a lot of great stories. The redemption of Naomi from bitter to pleasant, and now she has joy. And now the ladies in the town come to her and praise the God, and Naomi doesn't argue with them anymore. He's like, yeah, call me Naomi, that's better than Mara. I think I'll take that thing back. And even from Judah raping Tamar, even from that destruction, God brought Perez and a couple of dead generations. God brings Ruth and Boaz and Obed and Jesse and David. God provides for his people difficulty. This is the last story, at least for this section. Next week we'll be off for Memorial Day. The week after that, we're going to look, kind of life from my path. We're going to look at the commandments again, like we did last summer. But we're keeping up this theme of interesting old, new Bible stories that maybe we haven't learned. So we'll start again June 2nd for an intergenerational study. The younger kids will have their own class. We'll welcome the teens, some of the older kids as well. And we'll keep applying commandments. But I'm going to pick some interesting Bible stories. Since there's kids there, we may not have some of the stories we've looked at before. But taking commandments, taking interesting Bible stories, and then kind of, we just ended with, applying that to my life. Where can I find support or encouragement as I try to keep the commandments as God's provided the people of the past? I'm looking forward to that starting June 2nd. I look forward to you joining me for that. Let's close with prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for the redemption of not only Ruth, but of your people, and of the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, through this family of David. Bless and keep us as we have a week off next week. Provide and encourage us to gather again for more Sunday school, for more study on the 2nd. Finding these truths in these Old Testament stories and the comfort of your providence. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.